went too fast. Okay, so to start over, what my action research project was, let's go back first. It's always good to start with a mess up.
We can cut that out.
Okay, so first of all, what is action research? It's a form of research that is conducted in the classroom most of the time to help you identify different concerns or different needs of the students that you can fix or just make better in the classroom. Sometimes groups of teachers do it in an entire building, sometimes just one teacher does it, but it's done many different ways just to help you improve your classroom environment. There are several steps to action research. The first step is you want to develop a question. You want to have a main topic to develop your action research around. The next thing you do is you collect data. There's several different things you can collect data around. It could be assessments, it could be just observations. You can have the students giving you feedback. There's many different types of data collection that you can have. The third thing is you want to plan, deliver instruction based on the individual student's needs. So after you've collected your data, you look at your data and you decide what you need to do to help the students improve what they're doing in your classroom. For progress monitoring and post-assessment. So after you have helped the students, you need to see if that is, progressing along, helping the students by doing that progress monitoring. Also, post-assessment, giving that end of the unit test or end of the unit project. Number 5, determine instructional implications. So again, that's going back, looking at your new data after you've done your progress monitoring and your post-assessments. Do a lot of formative assessments to see how they've progressed from the first data collection to the next data collection. And then finally, sharing with you guys. Okay, so my personal research was how can I improve the involvement of all the students in the group so that they can all be learning, participating, and understanding. So right now in math class, all my students work in a group. But what I was finding is that not all the students were participating equally. Some of my students were taking the dominant leadership role. And, they were leading the group, they were doing all the problems. And then others were kind of just sitting back and not really contributing much. They weren't talking, they weren't sharing their ideas, they weren't asking questions. And I want everybody to equally contribute. I want everybody to ask questions. I want everybody to contribute answers. I want everybody to do their own research so that they have a better understanding of what they're learning. So, what I was finding is that the leadership people of the group were getting the better grades, were getting the better grades on the tests, on my formative assessments, and that they were excelling faster. And then on the opposite hand, the students who were kind of just taking the laid-back role, obviously they weren't doing as well on my formative assessments, on my post-assessments, and they were taking longer to understand the concepts. So I want everybody on the same page. So what my goal was, is to have everybody participate equally in the group. I want everybody engaged in activities to better understand my math concepts, and I want everyone completing the activities on time. All students should be completing the activities to about an 85% or better range. That should be about average. There were 4 main forms of assessment or data collection that I had. First was teacher journaling. This was something new to me. I haven't really done a lot of teacher journaling, except for when I was in college. So So as I was walking around the room, I would jot notes down to myself. How is this student comparing to another student? And then at the end of the day, I would write myself notes. How did this lesson work? How did this group work? How did that group work? Second thing, group work, just individual in each class. Okay, this group has a lot of strong students in it, so they worked very well. This group was very heterogeneous, so they still, had a leader, and then they had a few stragglers. Online community. This is the big one in my research project. I started an online community, which we know is very, very big here. What they had to do is they had to go on and start communicating in an online blog. And we'll talk about that more in a little bit. And then student surveys and evaluations. This we touched on a little bit. I think we'll get more into it later on. But students taking surveys on how they enjoy group work and also evaluating their teammates. So, like I said, we'll get a little bit more into that. It was kind of a touchy subject at first. Okay, so my online blog. I started this blog. It was the first time me implementing it in my classroom. I wanted students to start communicating with one another online, to start working together. Because some students take the more laid-back approach, I was hoping that this would allow everybody to share what they wanted to share and keep the communication open between everybody. I was hoping that students that felt more timid to ask questions in class would feel more open to ask questions online because it wasn't a face-to-face interaction. So students were required to go onto the site and answer the open-ended question, and they would have the opportunity to read the other responses from other students to gain that knowledge, and then also respond and ask questions to each other. My question for the first problem was use the following linear equation and relate it to a real-world application. Create a scenario that actually makes the equation true. Think back to the big race problem that we did in class, and this was a race between 3 or 4 kids on bikes. And the equation was y equals 5x plus 14. This is the rubric that I used to grade, well, not grade, just assess the students, because I actually didn't take the grades down and put them in a grade book. I just used it as my data, and I felt I'm a math teacher, so numbers are easier for me to look at. But 3, the kids really related to the equation. They really related to the real world. That was a 3. 2, they were on the right track, but they kind of misstepped. They might have mixed up the growth and the constant. 1, they really didn't understand it at all. And 0, I had some kids just not even complete it at all, unfortunately. So this was the graph that I made for my students. So as you can see, unfortunately, I had a lot of kids get only 1 point and then a lot of kids not do it at all. So I wasn't expecting this data at all. So I don't know if I misstepped or if they misstepped on this new process of blogging in my classroom. So I definitely need to go back and review somewhere.
Miss Keeney, please contact the office.
So, like I said before, 0 points, nobody did anything. I had some students, like I said, who attempted 1 point. I had one kid who said that this equation related to a straight line, which is correct, and a straight line would relate to a line on a road, but does that really relate to the real world? No. 2 points, yeah, they were pretty close, but he mixed up that the 14 miles per second, that wasn't the growth, and then the 5-mile marker, that was not where he started from. And then 3 points, these people did excellent. My instructional implications. So due to my poor data, what I feel like I need to do is start over, go back, and show the students exactly what I want from them. Show them the threes. Show them the good examples of what I want from them on these blocks. Possibly do examples in class of 3 points. We just do a bunch of examples in class, and then show them my rubric, give them my expectations for these types of problems. My future plans with Action Research is I definitely want to continue doing this in my classroom to evaluate my students, and I want them all to continue working as a group because I really feel that working in a group, working in a team, builds your knowledge and comprehension of these concepts. I hope to also encourage you all to join in this research because I know some of you also have teams working in your classrooms. So I would hope that I could pass this on to you so you can start doing research in your rooms, and I possibly could do some cross-curricular work with that. If you have any questions for me, that would be great, but I was just wondering, do you see any issues similar to group work? If you have group work in your room, do you see some leaders and some people that sit back? Do you have any methods that work for you that are better when you're working with groups? Do you group them a certain way? Or anything like that. But that's basically my Action Research project. So, thank you for coming and listening.